the outside, it could look at this failure. You've lost this business. You lost this opportunity. I have to go back to Alabama. And you're just like, it'll work itself out, you know. There's a lens that you can look through to your failures.
Yeah. No, that's a good point and a good way to look at it. It's and I believe in second chances because of that. Like, so at Monster, for instance, we have athletes that do a lot of crazy stuff and screw up sometimes, right? Not all the time, but sometimes.
Sometimes it happens.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah,
right?
It's life. It's life.
Some people fuck up, right? and so one thing, and I'm not taking credit for it, it's really the people that founded Monster. You know, the Mark Halls and Hilton Schlossberg and Rodney Sachs. They believe in second chances. Now, they don't put it in those words and say, hey, Mitch, I believe in second chances. No, but they do.
Their actions show that.
Yes. So over time, when we have athletes that really step in it and really screw up and all their other sponsors leave them or write them letters and quit paying them and everything else, we almost always stand behind them. You know, Tiger Woods, not long after we signed Tiger Woods, he took some sleeping pills or something and they backfired, and he gets up in the middle of the night and goes for a drive around down the street in his fancy car and runs off the side of the road and gets pulled over, and his mugshot's on the cover of USA Today, right? I mean,
so that was as highly publicized as it gets.
Yes, that's highly publicized. Our phone's ringing off the hook. We got to get rid of Tiger Woods, and fans are writing in, consumers writing in on the hotline and calling in. Everybody's freaking out. And my boss, Rodney Sachs, the CEO, was not a huge fan of signing Tiger to start with because he's a golfer and we're not into golf. We signed him because he's one of the greatest athletes in the world. He'd be, for kind of other reasons. But he wasn't a big fan of the deal. So when this happened, I'm like, oh, no, Rodney wants to talk to me. He's going to say, get rid of Tiger, right? He's going to say. And so I was going to try to talk him out of it nonetheless. But I went in there to do that. But he looks up at me and I said, now, Rodney, I said, we're going to have to stick with him here. It's really not going to look good if we drop him here. He goes, drop him? You think I would drop him? Are you lost your mind? We ain't dropping him now. No way. He says, we got to stand behind our guy. He says, we're standing behind him. You call him up. You tell him we're here to help. I mean, it's good. Well, a lot of them did drop him. And so roll the camera forward. 2019, the year before, 2018, he was lying flat on his back with a massive back fusion. Doctor told him, said, you'll either be able to get up and play again or you'll never play again in your life. It'll either work or it won't. And you'll never be what you were because it's a massive thing. He comes back in 2019 and wins the Masters. All right, so I get chills looking at that one.
Same, dude.
My greatest sports moments in my career, right? And so, and
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to be standing right there. And
you were standing there when he won.
I was, and
wow.
Yeah, so I was on the 18th green right there, looking on him there. But anyway, but they asked him. A big time reporter asked him, says the next day, hey, I bet since you've made this massive comeback, a lot of your sponsors will come back. How much increase in sponsor revenue do you think you'll get by winning this Masters and making your comeback complete? He said, I'm not going to get a single one. I'm not answering the phone. I got 3 people that stuck with me, Monster Energy, Rolex, and Nike. Nobody else needs to call. They stood behind me when nobody else did. I'm not looking for sponsors. And to make it even better, is he's got the toughest agent in the world, Mark Steinberg. And I used to dread negotiating with this guy. He was good, all right? He was rough, all right? And I called him to renew the deal, and I'm expecting, okay.
Double the money.
Yeah, because I bought low, right? He just got hit with a golf club by his first wife, right? I bought low, right? So I'm like, oh, here it comes, man. He's going to stick it to me there, man. Here it comes. Picked up the phone. I said, where do you want to start on this thing, Mark? And he said, I just got off the phone with Tiger. Tiger said to take whatever you offer. I'm not negotiating with you. Just tell us what you want to pay. He wants to be with you the rest of your life. And because we stuck with him. And I could tell you stories about 5 other athletes that's even worse than that. But that sticking with people when they fail is important. It's it's something I'm proud of Monster, not myself. I'm about the people that.
Yeah, there's got to be a culture.
It's the culture
of that.
Yeah, it's the culture,
Yeah.
And but it's back. Everybody loves a redemption story too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like we don't have a payoff on this thing if it works. Some of them, they don't all come back and win the Masters, but everybody in America loves a redemption story. So, it's, again, we're talking about failures and comebacks.
Yeah. So you were part of putting together the deal with Tiger?
It's a crazy story, of course.
Let's go.
So one day I'm sitting in my office and we had just done a NASCAR deal, and my contact in Charlotte calls me from an agent guy in Charlotte calls me and says, "Hey, Mitch, I need you to do me a favor. I got a good friend that's in California today. He wants to come by and pitch you something. Can you give him 10 minutes?" I'm like, "Man, I am swamped." I'm thinking they're going to come pitch me some stupid shit, right? And I'm like, he goes, "Well, do me a favor. Come on, man. See the guy." And I'm like, "Okay, send him by, but I'm really swamped, but send him by." So this well-dressed guy in a tie comes in my office and says, he pitched me. You won't believe, you're going to love this. What he pitched me that day was a totally new concept called Barstool Sports. Okay? I didn't know what it was. He barely did. And what he pitched me is not what it is today, but it was a concept called Barstool Sports. And they had hired this agency to sell it. And so he was pitching it to Monster. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds good, man. That's all good, Look at my watch. Yeah, it's time to go." And he gets up to leave, and he hands me a postcard-sized business card, like this big. And on there, he had all their athletes. He said, "We're a small boutique firm with some high-end athletes. If you ever have an interest in any of the athletes, call me. You've been real nice. Thanks for seeing me." And I look on there, and it's got Archie Manning, Eli Manning, Jim Nance, top of the top.
Yeah.
And right in the middle was Tiger Woods. And I said, whoa, you're Tiger Woods' agent? I'm a Tiger Woods fan, right? So he says, my partner in the business. I can't talk to you about Tiger, but he can. Do you have an interest? And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'd like to talk to him. You never know, right?" So I said, "Hang on. Stay right here." I go upstairs to see Mark Hall. Back then, I reported to Mark. Mark's crazy. I love him to death. Some of my best friends. Crazy as hell, right? So I go up there, and I'm like, it's like the mad professor, right? And so I go up there and I go, "Mark, I got Tiger Woods' agent downstairs." I said, "You ever thought about doing anything with Tiger Woods?" He's like, "Oh, hell yeah. Send him up. Let's talk to him." I said, "What do you want to do with him?" "I don't know. We'll figure it out. Send him up." So I go get the guy. I said, "My guy wants to meet you," right? So he goes up and Mark says, "I want to do a drink with Tiger Woods. I want it to be a Tiger Woods drink. You think he's interested?" He said, "Don't talk to me about Tiger. Mark Steinberg will kill me, but I'll get him on the phone." So we get Steinberg on the phone. He comes on the phone. He goes, "I don't know you people. I don't know if you're serious. Don't waste my time, blah, blah, blah." He's like hardball, man, right out of the gate. And we're like, "Yeah, we're interested." And he said, "We'd like to do a drink with Tiger." And so he says, "Well, I'll talk to him. I'll get back to you." So he calls us right back and says, "Yeah, he might be interested." Well, I didn't know it, but they needed a bag sponsor about that time because the one they had quit paying them. And so they needed a bag sponsor.
Yep.
And so
I remember waking up in the morning. I'm a pretty big golf fan. I remember waking up in the morning one day and like the first 7 images on my news feed was a Monster Energy golf bag with Tiger Woods the morning that that deal dropped, dude. It was everywhere.
Yeah, it was good. And but it was another one of these stories where me and Mark go down to see the big boss, and the big boss is like, he don't know anything about golf. I mean, he's a South African gentleman who's never played a round of golf in his life. And he's like, "Over my dead body, am I going to sponsor a golfer for Monster? No, get out."
Because it's so different. It's built on adrenaline and that high-speed action sports. Like, that was the heritage of the brand.
Yes, and it still is. And so I said, "Look, we're not getting into golf. We're getting into the greatest athletes in the world, and Tiger Woods is a great one, arguably one of the top 3 greatest athletes of all time." And he's like, "He's not that big. Lewis Hamilton and Valentino Rossi and Ricky Carmichael, they're way bigger than this guy." And I'm like, "Rodney, no." Right? So anyway, he comes around, but we do the deal, and but that where we really won Rodney over was like 4 years later, 5 years later. Tiger wins the Zozo Open in Japan, and Rodney was on a trip to Japan, and a business trip. And while he was over there, it was on every TV in Japan. Tiger Woods winning their tournament in Japan, and
With the Monster Energy
with
bag.
the Monster Energy bag, and it blew up. And everywhere he went, they were talking about it. So he comes back. This is classic. He comes back and he calls a meeting.
And it tied the record for the most wins on tour as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was huge. And but anyway, we go and Rodney calls us all in.
He can't get away from his own brand on a business trip.
Yeah. And he calls us all in, and he goes, you know, I like to imitate right here. He's South African, you know. He's like, we're not doing a very good job of using Tiger Woods. Do you realize, people, that we have one of the biggest athletes in history, and we're not even using him very much? And, you know, I want to see some action on Tiger Woods, because I don't know if you guys realize how big an athlete he really is. We're all sitting there like, yeah, you gotta laugh, right?
Unreal.
Yeah, you gotta laugh. But anyway, we did. We're still with him. But yeah, that was, and he's still with us today. So
That is so wild. That's such a cool thing to be a part of, because you're right. That's one of the best athletes of all time.
yeah, he is.
In one of the hardest sports to be the best at, you know, like you just don't see, historically, you don't even see the kind of dominance that he had as an athlete, you know, especially in like a single individual sport. Like, it's pretty impressive.
Well, you talk about all those things we've talked about already about overcoming adversity, overcoming failure, being wired, not inspired, you know, doing whatever it takes to win, building a plan, and believing in your process. He is the number one example of all of those subjects, right? He wrote the book on resilience. He wrote the book on comebacks. He wrote the book on hard work, right? You know, the famous story of him and John Daly. John Daly walks through the locker room after a round at a major tournament to go to the bar, and Tiger's in there getting dressed, and he's like, Tiger, why don't you ever come to the bar with us? Why don't you ever come to the bar? Why don't you be a real person one time? Come to the bar and let's pound a few back. You know, Tiger looked at him and said, John, if I had 10% of your talent, I'd outdrink you. I have to work. And, so it's
What a legend, dude. Yeah, that's so crazy.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.